Moving on to use number 4 for these 3M Cubitron 775L film-backed PSA sanding discs. And that is to use or to make sanding files. So what a sanding file is, it's essentially the same thing as a metal file, only it's made for wood. It's just a stick of wood. This is 1.25 inches wide by 3/8 thick. And I just stuck some sticky back sandpaper on here. And now I can use this the same way I would use a file. Only it has some advantages. On the edge here is what we call safe edge. So I can use this on this face and I don't have to worry about this edge marring my work. So for example, if I wanted to clean up this tenon, I could work on the face of the tenon and I won't have to worry about the shoulder being damaged. Or I can work on the shoulder here. I don't have to worry about this part being damaged. You could also use it for dovetails, cleaning up pins and dovetails. I can use it in here and it can take off very small amounts of wood. And that works great. So this side is, one side's 80 and one side's 120. So one side's pretty aggressive. And one side's pretty, I can do more refined work. I could also fair a curve. So if I'm working on this curve here and I want to make sure this curve is fair, I can actually fair a curve with a file or a rasp much better than using any other method. And also, you can get wood rasps, but they're going to cost you a lot of money, much more than these do. These cost pennies. So I can fair a curve. This works very great. I can also add a handle to this. So this is an example where I just made a handle. It's 4 inches long, 1.25 inches square. Cut it in octagonal. I just cut a little shallow groove here and then a deeper groove here with a hole so that this can be compressed. So there's a nut over here and there's a screw here. And so when I tighten this down, this turns into like a handled file. Works really well. It gives me a lot more control. I can also make them smaller. Like this one here is 3/4 inch by about 1/8 inch thick. So it's much tinier. So I have different sizes available. Let me show you real quick how to cut this paper or put some paper on one of these files. I'll just do it right here. One thing you want to keep in mind is when you cut this stuff, just use a box cutter because you can replace the blade. Don't use any kind of nice knife because you'll ruin it. It does dull it. And when you cut this paper, cut it from the back side. If you cut it from the front side, you'll dull your knife quickly. I mean, the knife's going to get dull quick enough, but you don't want to make it any faster. So I just take my paper, I put a ruler there, I cut it in half. So that cuts my paper right down the middle. Now I take and I want to square the ends. It's much easier to square the ends before you attach the paper than afterward. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to square that end. Then I'm going to lay it on top of my stick here. This is half a sheet. I overlap it. I'm going to overlap all sides because I'm going to trim this off. I probably have a little bit too much here. I should probably just cut a smaller strip and save the rest for last. But so now I just take it, trim along the edge, trim along the edge, trim the end. Now I have this paper that just comes right up to the edge. So there you have it. 775L 3M Cubitron sanding disc used in sanding sticks. The next use for these 3M Cubitron 775L film back stick it sanding disc is to use it with a 90-degree corner file. So what this is it's just a piece of sandpaper. It's a 3/4 inch stick. Sandpaper is stuck to this side and I've trimmed it off. It's not folded over because if I fold the sandpaper over here, this corner won't be as crisp. But I take the sandpaper and I stick it down and I trim it on both sides. Then I stick another piece on an adjacent side and I trim that down. And now it's a very sharp corner in here. And I can use this to refine inside corners or sand inside corners. Like this one here, I cut this on the bandsaw. You can tell it's kind of out of square a little bit. If I take the sanding file, I can go in there and I can clean that up. And in just a little bit of time, that corner is now perfectly square. And you can smooth things. Like this is a square I made and I had some really crisp, I wanted to have some really crisp corners in here. And the way I did that is I used these 90-degree corner files and I refined this down to probably about 400 grit. So it took a nice shine. So see that? It's really nice. So here's another use for the 3M Cubitron 775L film back sanding disc, the 90-degree corner file.